Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe the list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with much fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
Higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses EDDIE-FICATION to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through EDDIE-FICATION, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. We seem to be having a little technical snarl here today. But you know what they say, this course of true love never did run smooth. So I will have to stop here in terms of all that I am doing and get on with the program for today. But be that as it may, folks, oh Lord have mercy. Welcome to Edification 236. Our subject today invites all of us to continue to stay focused, to ensure our motto is consistently resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders who are attempting to use language to manipulate you, again, with any thought of rescuing Grenada. Grenada has already been rescued from their dirty hands, and we are not going back. So, of course, let me see you, man. Hashtag Keith gone, and he not coming back. Keith gone, and he not coming back. Never mind all the various nonsense they contrive and come with. You know, I was telling a friend a little earlier, and truth be told, this is so very true. You know, when you think of it, folks, a masked man, a person who puts a mask in their face to commit a crime, is a person who does not want to be associated with the crime. So they don't want you to make them out at all and associate them with that wrongdoing. It is the same as a person who hides behind a fake profile. They know what they're doing is wrong. They cannot stand up to their own word, so they have to hide. But look at me. I'm right here, saying what I have to say. You know why? Because what I say is incontrovertible. There could be no contrary opinion or view or truth, because there's no alternative truth. Truth is truth is truth. When I speak, and you see, the fact that I'm not looking for friends supports my candor. So I don't have to put a mask in my face. I don't have to go on social media and make up a profile. I'm coming with it, whether it is liked or not. Couldn't be bothered, because truth is truth is truth. And who vex, as we say, is their damn face. So goodly folks, as soon as you come into the room today, let's do what we need to do. Please share, please comment, please like, please love, and just interact as you usually do. Great to have you again. Let's keep this community going and growing. Our angel number for today, of course, is 236. And those numbers signify encouragement from your angels to have faith and trust in the universe as you pursue your life's purpose. It is a message to believe in yourself and maintain a positive attitude, as your material and emotional needs will be met. The operative word is needs, not wants. Goodly folks, let's jump straight into whatever we have to discuss today. While the intellectually challenged line up on the other side to promote the notion of rescuing Grenada from the hands of order and structure. It's not rescuing, reversing Grenada is what I want to say. To go back to thieving and freeness. Just do the comparison, folks, between their lowly rhetoric and the sound, robust pushback from those of us who support what is right for Grenada. You see, according to Thomas Paine in his essay Common Sense, quote, a long habit of thinking a thing wrong, of not thinking a thing wrong, gives it a superficial appearance of being right and raises at first a formidable outcry in defense of custom. But the tumult subsides. Time makes more converts than reason, unquote. Now, can any of these can't read and don't read emissaries present any case that is steeped in intellect similar to this? They can't read and they don't read, so therefore they will never encounter a Thomas Paine. They will never encounter a Henry David or Thoreau. They would never. Because they can't read or they don't read. All they're studying is Mawet, Bacchanal, Tebe, low classism, and lolly drain old talk. The lowest of creatures whose favorite subjects in school had to be let out, break time, school over, and holiday. Just by their inability to present reason in their arguments and presentations in support of an organization that they claim to love. Interestingly, that same organization is totally responsible for duncifying them and rendering them useless in the grand scheme of things. Yet for all, they blindly follow in perpetuity, not realizing that if they refused, they could have chosen the other side, which would have led them to blossom into proper, decent citizens. So while so much rachifi is going on in their inferior organization on account of a totally faulty, expired leader's insistence on holding on in an effort to choreograph karma to prevent what goes around from coming around on him, their dingy and obviously brain-damaged emissaries are out spreading rumors and ascribing all the thieving ways of the goons they follow to decent citizens. There's one in particular who has a record of thieving everywhere that one worked in the past, who can be seen echoing nonsense under these various posts while using a profile picture in an effort to mislead people into thinking that that one is all that. There is more I can say on that one, but we'll hold for now and end this by asserting a truth. Birds of a feather really do flock together. I take great pleasure, folks, in sharing two recent viral WhatsApp posts, which are obviously written by someone who is friendly with syntax, grammar, and of course, literature. I declare that person or those people experts at penmanship, which is something that cannot be said in favor of those imbeciles who project their wrongs onto others. The first one is captioned, "The Shadow of Leadership, a tale of division in the NNP," and makes for great reading, folks. Quote, "In the heart of Grenada, political tension brewed within the new national party, the NNP, as its leader, Dr. Keith Mitchell, stood at the crossroads. Once hailed as a formidable force in Grenadian politics, his recent rhetoric of unity felt more like a thin veil over deepening fractures. Dr. Mitchell had long promised to step aside for new leadership, a pledge made on more than 3 occasions. Yet, as whispers of challengers grew louder, so did his defensive posturing. In a recent address to party loyalists, he declared, 'Whoever is chosen as the next leader, I will hold their hand and walk with them.' But beneath that facade lay a stark reality. If his preferred candidate didn't emerge victorious, he had no intention of relinquishing control. The echoes of his promises lingered, a bitter reminder of his failure to embrace true democratic renewal. You see, party members watched in disillusionment as he summoned the old guards, relics of a bygone era, back into the fold. Their presence only underscored the stagnation within the NNP, revealing a leader clinging to the past instead of fostering the future. Dr. Mitchell's strategy, born of desperation, had alienated many within his ranks. In 2022, general elections had exposed vulnerabilities, and his attempts to prop himself up with outdated figures felt like a betrayal to those yearning for fresh ideas. The younger party members, full of ambition and vision, found themselves overshadowed by the ghosts of politics past. His decision to rally behind familiar faces was not a move towards unity at all. It was an admission of fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being replaced. And as he sought to quash dissent with veiled threats and empty promises, the atmosphere grew thick with resentment. Unity? One frustrated party member remarked, shaking his head. It's just a word he uses to mask his insecurity. He's more concerned about maintaining power than listening to us. As factions emerged, the cracks within the NNP widened. Promises of collaboration felt hollow when Dr. Mitchell's true intentions loomed large. His allies may have cheered his calls for unity, but behind closed doors, a growing number questioned his leadership. Pardon me, I'm a little distracted here because we're having a little technical snarl in the background while this is happening. You see, the future of the NNP hung in the balance. Would they continue to follow a leader unwilling to adapt, or would they rise to reclaim their party from the grips of stagnation? The choice loomed large, echoing through the halls of power, a choice that would ultimately define Grenada's political destiny. In this storm of uncertainty, the call for real leadership grew louder. The question remained, would Dr. Mitchell heed the call of change, or would he remain a prisoner of his own making, shackled by his past and a very party he claimed to unite? The answers lay within the hearts of those who dared to dream of a better new national party of Grenada. And that is precisely why, folks, we have to let our motto be resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders. The second one captioned the brewing storm, Dwight Horsford's quiet resentment. In the intricate dance of Grenada politics, whispers often carry more weight than official statements. Recently, Dwight Horsford, a notable figure within the new National Party, has been making headlines, not for his public speeches or policy proposals, but rather for his clandestine conversations in a little Cuban bar near Spiceland Mall in the south of the island. Here, amidst the haze of cigar smoke and the clinging of rum glasses, Horsford has been vocalizing his grievances about party leadership, specifically targeting Dr. Mitchell and Emmeline Pear. Horsford's sentiments reflect a deeper undercurrent of discontent that seems to be simmering within the party ranks. His assertion that Keith wouldn't make the foolish mistake of treating him as the others underscores a palpable frustration with past leadership dynamics. Despite accepting the offer to serve as a senator in Grenada's upper house of representatives, he candidly expressed that he feels like a recurring decimal, always present, but never fully appreciated and allowed to lead. This metaphor captures his sense of being sidelined and trapped in a cycle of unfulfilled potential. His veiled threats hint at a brewing confrontation that could have significant implications for the NNP. This scenario is more than just a personal grudge. It symbolizes the challenges of maintaining unity in a party where ambitions run high. Horsford's heavy consumption of alcohol and fondness of large Cuban cigars may paint him as a character of indulgence, but it's crucial to see beyond the surface. His comments reflect a frustration that could resonate with other party members who feel sidelined or undervalued in the leadership narrative. What makes this situation particularly intriguing is the historical context. Dr. Mitchell, a seasoned political figure, has faced criticism for his handling of party dynamics in the past. Horsford's remarks serve as a reminder of the precarious balance of loyalty and ambition within political structures, especially when leaders are perceived to be playing favorites or neglecting potential successors. As the NNP approaches its next gathering of its General Council, and in the near future its National Convention, the stakes are high. The party must navigate not only external challenges, but also the internal rifts that threaten its cohesion. If Horsford's grievances go unaddressed, they could escalate into a larger schism, undermining the very foundation of the party. In conclusion, Dwight Horsford's silent planning and vocal frustrations encapsulate the complexities of leadership and loyalty within Grenada's political landscape. As party members gather for the upcoming events, they would do well to heed the signs of discontent before they become an inescapable crisis. The question remains, will Dr. Mitchell and the NNP leadership recognize and address these emerging tensions? Or will they find themselves grappling with a formidable adversary from within? All the more, we have to let our motto be resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders. Folks, let's take a break. I hope during the break I can straighten out what needs to be straightened out here technically, and we'll come right back with some more. So,
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safely and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, iron in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with much fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 up. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Going higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
wonderful, folks. Well, I think I have straightened out to a certain extent. I guess my next break I will have to do some more. But bear with me. I'm a little lonely here today with this. I have nobody to call, so but it's quite okay. Wonderful. So we are into our second segment. For those of you just joining us, I want to say welcome to you, but of course, beckon you to do some sharing as you get into the room. Roxy, it's nice to see you here again. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And of course, Sawandi, my dear friend, always, always, always a pleasure to have you. Late or not, it's always a pleasure. Akim, good to have you too. Kathleen, Monica, Josie, Bernadette. Oh, bless your hearts, folks. Keep hitting that share button and let's get some more people in the room. Goodly, folks, I was recently introduced to a book titled, Let Your Motto Be Resistance, African American Portraits. This book presents a collection of portraits and narratives that highlight the stories of prominent African Americans, showcasing the offering of a visual journey through African American history, honoring figures larger than life like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and many others. The book serves to remind me of our Caribbean heroes with strong identities who were very instrumental in leading the way when it comes to, serious resistance and cultural expressions, and who have gone to the great beyond and left us to follow through, and who must be turning in their graves to learn of our insistence as a people on remaining stagnant as a result of choosing inferior leaders whose main focus is on personal wealth accumulation. You see, the first part of the caption of this book, Let Your Motto Be Resistance, encouraged the pivot to today's sharing, which I confidently titled, Let Our Motto Be Resistance to Corrupt, Diabolical, and Evil Leaders. You see, this is vital because leadership that thrives on corruption, oppression, and exploitation directly threatens the well-being, freedom, and dignity of our people, simply because it has been proved to leave a large swath of our people in poverty and abject dunceness. Resistance to such leadership is a moral imperative and a necessary strategy for survival, justice, and the building of a society rooted in fairness and integrity. We should all be mindful of the following key reasons why this resistance is essential. You see, corrupt leaders often manipulate systems of power for personal gain, leading to the erosion of rights and freedoms, especially for marginalized communities. The said corrupt leaders have their sycophants projecting these wrongs on the administration that rightfully replace them, as if to deflect. Our people in our post-colonial era need to persist in resistance to further oppression by corrupt replacements. Resistance ensures that we defend hard-earned rights and fight for the freedom and equality that should be inherent to all. Like the right to a proper education, proper health care, proper wages, proper environments that deliver the sum total of a constantly higher standard of living and quality of life. Diabolical leaders often work to normalize injustice by creating laws, policies, and narratives that dehumanize and marginalize groups. The other laws that are already established to prevent a lot of what they are vulgarly involved in are never enforced by their hand-picked law enforcement officers. This is dangerous because it shifts the public perception of what is acceptable, making injustice seem inevitable or unchangeable. By resisting such leaders, we refuse to accept injustice as normal and disrupt their ability to redefine moral and ethical boundaries in ways that harm people. Corrupt leadership often flourishes in environments where there is a lack of accountability and a lack of consciousness in the people to demand it. By resisting and exposing such leaders, we uphold the demand for transparent governance and ethical behavior. Corruption thrives in secrecy, and resistance sheds light on exploitation, holding leaders accountable for their actions and preventing them from consolidating power unchecked. Now that we got rid of the diabolical, characterless old nastiness, we have to remain vigilant to ensure that he and his goons stay gone, while we guard against their several attempts at projecting their nasty subculture on our new administration. The impact of corrupt and evil leadership is not just felt by those alive today, but by future generations. If we allow corrupt leaders to govern unchecked, we pass down systems of oppression, inequality, and injustice to our children and their children. Resistance ensures that future generations inherit a society that is more just, equitable, and free from the destructive influence of corrupt power. You see, corrupt leaders often act without regard for the moral or even ethical consequences of their decisions, resulting in policies and actions that harm the general population. By resisting, we take a stand for justice, compassion, and integrity, reaffirming our commitment to a society where leaders act in service to the people rather than for personal or political gain. You see, folks, resistance becomes an act of moral courage, standing up for what is right, even in the face of great opposition, if you end up being the only goddamn person standing up. I have been doing this for years against Satan's grandson, our main tropical Trump of the region. You see, resistance to corrupt leadership empowers the collective voice of the people. It fosters a sense of solidarity, of purpose, and agency, showing that ordinary citizens can push back against tyranny and oppression. You see, throughout history, movements that resisted corrupt leaders, like the civil rights movement in the United States, anti-colonial struggles in Africa, and global movements against apartheid, have shown that collective action can dismantle systems of oppression and bring about meaningful change. We have to turn our success in replacing thieves and cons among our leaders into a movement to ensure that all of them stay gone forever and that our national treasury gets a fighting chance to breathe easily and not be ever used again as a cash pot to attract people to a vote farm, as the old nastiness was famous for establishing to keep him and his goons in power. You see, evil and corrupt leaders thrive on maintaining systems that perpetuate inequality, poverty, and total division, bringing the population on the brink of violence. You see, if left unchallenged, these systems become self-perpetuating, ensuring that future generations continue to live under the same oppressive regimes. Resistance breaks this cycle, challenging the structures of power and paving the way for systems of governance that prioritize equity, justice, and human rights. You see, by resisting corrupt and evil leaders, we create a demand for leadership that is rooted in integrity, justice, and the well-being of all the people. Resistance sets a precedent that corrupt behavior will not be tolerated, and it encourages a rise of leaders who are genuinely committed to serving their communities. True leadership is about uplifting people and ensuring their rights and resisting corruption that fosters the conditions for such leadership to emerge. You see, a form of corrupt leadership is when leaders are successful in getting a job and sit back and enjoy the spoils of that job without having any impact on the organization to help maintain its position in power to continue to serve. We have too many loafers around the precincts of this new administration which is approaching the halfway point in its governance. And all they are doing is collecting a salary. Too many of the ministers of government fall in this category. Too many party operatives on boards and management positions are guilty of this. And they either have to buck up, or we, the vigilantes, call them out and weed them out completely. In other words, call their names, shame them publicly. And if they will not buck up, keep at it until they either shape up or the Prime Minister takes the decision to get rid of them. You came from a system which did not work, only thieving and nonsense. It's time to settle down and do the goddamn work. Some of you are like political idiots. I have been compiling my list a while now and promised to have started on this on the 2nd anniversary. But Hurricane Beryl scattered that. We are settling down now since the passage of Beryl. And it is time to call out who the banks almost sold out before 23rd June 2022, who may have received cushy positions and were rescued by the election results, who can be seen to be doing absolutely nothing to safeguard their recently earned freedom from financial disgrace. Folks, I'm not putting no water in my mouth to talk, you know. All of you know who you are. Get up and do the goddamn work and stop this blasted loafing. All you're seeing is a set of Gaza. What the hell, you living in Gaza? We own Gaza here. Right for your work. I not depending on no goddamn government for anything. Nolly and Braffett not depending on anybody. Sawandi not depending on anybody. Akim not depending on anybody. You people get cushy jobs and you just sit down there doing nothing as if you think you're going to be able to keep that job if the devil grandson come back. You're also goddamn foolish. And some of you, every time the party has an issue, you're on the wrong side of the party. Wrong side of the issue inside the party. You're also goddamn retarded and stupid. We need to weed out all who are remaining around the precincts of the NDC to breed dissension in the ranks among party stalwarts and new entrants, and can always be found on the wrong side of issues within the goddamn party structure. All your vex, that's your goddamn face. I am no NDC. I'm a Garyite, and I'm an independent, and the NDC benefits from my disdain for that old nastiness, and of course my high regard and my close friendship and brotherhood with Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and Orlando Kijana Romaine. All of you loafers must be sanctioned once and for all, and a concerted effort must be made to lay it all out to the public so they can have no influence on society when you seek sympathy after being sanctioned. It is too easy to see all who the loafers are around the party and the government, who are just receiving and not contributing. Hear me out. They have to either buck up or go. We have a country to run, and we can't continue to remain stable, and the government cannot remain in office with these ill-intentioned stragglers and, I dare say, mercenaries. I promise you my next step is to name and shame. Since all of you know who you are, buck up fast, because my list is already compiled. And if you think people like me will sit back idly and allow your refusal to politic properly and reverse the gains of June 23rd, 2022, hey, think again, because I ain't making no goddamn joke. Resistance to evil leaders, folks, help to create mechanisms for accountability, both within governments and society. It forces systems of power to become more transparent and ethical by challenging the corrupt actions of leaders. Resistance builds the framework necessary to hold future leaders accountable, ensuring that those in power act in service to the people rather than in service to themselves. Above all, resistance to corrupt leadership is about protecting human dignity. Corruption dehumanizes people, especially those in marginalized communities, by reducing them to mere tools for the accumulation of wealth and power by a few cons. By resisting corrupt leaders, we stand in defense of human dignity, affirming that every individual is worthy of respect, justice, and freedom. You see, corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders, they represent a threat, not only to democracy and justice, but to the very soul of humanity. For our Grenadian people, resisting such leadership is part of a broader legacy of fighting against systems of oppression that have long sought to diminish our humanity and deny our rights. Come on, 1995 to 2022. It's a hell of a long time. By making resistance our motto, we declare that our will must be to stay vigilant. We will not be passive in the face of inferior leadership, which dispense a diet of victimization, spite, and injustices between the period 1995 and 2022, which they are trying to project on this new government. While supporters are calling on the government to get rid of all of them NNPites in the service, they're still there. But these nastinesses staying outside and talking about victimization. Instead, we will stand, fight, and resist until structure, order, and justice prevail, and a more just society is realized for all people. Hello, folks. All the more why we have to let our motto be resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders, and of course, resistance to loafers on the side of this administration. Loafers, I have a list of your names, and I intend to call among you out. Go and make a difference. There's a transformation agenda which requires your energy. Stop the goddamn loafing. Let's take a little break. I'm hot under the collar here, folks. And we'll come right back with more.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with fortune fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 and more. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Going higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. Only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You know, it's really disheartening and true to think, what is my benefit? What do I get from government? I have my profession. I'm doing what I'm accustomed doing. I'm not deviating. But I have a passion for this country. And it's true and genuine development. I'm standing in the gap. And all these loafers just decide to sit back, collect a salary, do diddly squat. And they have bank knocking on their door every Monday morning almost before the 23rd of June, 2022. But you could see them talking about Israel and Lebanon and on their Facebook page. But you can't see them protecting their work, forgetting that an election cycle is only 60 months. And if we are almost at the halfway point, how many more months to go? Oh God, all your dotish. It's about time among you raise your voices. Y'all that have something to lose, not me. Because my standard of living and quality of life never changed. Even though that old dirty nastiness tried to see what he could do. God shares bread, not man, far less this old devil. No, my standard of living and quality of life never changed because God shares bread. Some of you don't even have the courage of your conviction. You're just, professional loafers. Look at the party. The government, for the most part, performing well in office. Where's the party? Where's the party? A blasted lumpen general secretary who just happy to have the position. Another one always on the wrong side of issues in the party. Huh? Come on, what stupidness is this? Get rid of he and all loafers. Put them out. They're a waste of time and they are annoying. Welcome back. Folks, insecure and dishonest politicians often project their negative traits onto their opponents as a psychological defense mechanism called projection. We see this happening right before us daily. Tell me something. One of them should be doing what I do in here because they have a vested interest. But they're just happy. Well, Eddie go give them Sunday. I like that fella, Sawandi, boy, he does come hot on social media while these goons doing nothing in the bloody office to help with the transformation. I tell you, the thing is vexing, Some of them have the job now 2 years. Go and see any change or any difference. All they're doing is, I'm a manager. And they're happy to collect a salary. No goddamn legacy, no difference. You see, as long as the National Nasty Party was in office, headed by that old nastiness, loads of things their supporters are now ascribing to the new administration, which were integral to the subculture of the NNP, were okay as long as they were in power. And all of a sudden, they know these things to be so wrong and inventing scenarios to make people feel that the new administration is involved in these nasty things. You see, interestingly, some of the dunce, unthinking people among the rest of the population who are either on the fence or voted for yellow, even though they are of the green mentality, are having doubts and are grabbing on to these projections just because they voted for something and yet to receive it. You see, their vote was transactional. This occurs for several reasons. By accusing their opponents of dishonesty or an unethical behavior, they distract attention from their own misdeeds. This tactic shifts the conversation away from their own diabolical flaws and forces their opponents to defend themselves instead. Folks, there's going to come a time when I am going to freeze and give among you a chance to defend yourselves. Because none of you saying anything, but you seem to forget the experience of V. Nazim Burke, who said nothing and became a political has-been because the dirty man mash him up politically. Sit down there and feel that evil, dirty man is at rest. He is not. And unless you get up and defend yourself, I have no vested interest to defend among you, None whatsoever. Because some of you, I wish you would succeed in truth, to put you all in the political wilderness, because some of you are just political dotards. You see, dishonest politicians may feel guilty or fearful of being exposed, so they shift the blame onto others by accusing their opponents of the same behaviors in a barraging manner. They muddy the waters and create confusion, making it harder for people to discern who is truly the dirtier one and really at fault. You see, if a politician can convince the public that their opponent is dishonest or corrupt, they can weaken the opponent's credibility and appeal. This is particularly effective if the politician lacks substantive arguments or achievements to stand on. What is the current lot in office doing to assuage the population from falling for the NNP's accusations? In many cases, nothing. This is not sustainable. The thorough densification of the population that was intensified over the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part is fertile ground for acceptance of anything that is unchallenged in the public domain. The political work must be done, and depending on the few militant party supporters on social media will not cut it. All the armchair politicians who are more concerned with the trappings of office and want to be called honorable this and honorable that, traveling the world and enjoying social activities here, there, and everywhere, must wake up and realize what got them elected, selected, and even employed in the first place. All the one-time activists who at one time were people of straw, almost on the verge of disaster, and are now holding down big work and are silent. Hello, remember, you owe your continued loftiness of positions to proper and thorough activism. Some of you are too darn vexing. The two people who are barraged against by the dunces of the other side, PM Deacon Mitchell and Orlando Kijana Romaine, listen to me carefully, loafers. They do not need politics to live well. They have their successes to return to, which can properly sustain them. Insecure individuals tend to project their own insecurities onto others as a way to cope with their massive internal discomfort. When a politician is insecure about their own character, integrity, or competency, they may unconsciously and deliberately accuse others of being guilty of the very behavior they have every reason to fear in themselves and be disgusted with otherwise. You see, public perception can be easily swayed by repetition of accusations. Do you recall the onslaught of accusations against V. Nazimberg? They stuck in the absence of any real attempt at robust response. Even if the claims are false, dishonest politicians understand that if they project enough negativity onto the opponents, some of the many unthinking people around will develop doubt and are sure to start believing those false narratives. And at least, guess what? Become doubtful about the opponent's integrity too. You see, some of the green mentalities who vote yellow are among those who doubt is being created in their minds, all because they transacted their votes for something in return and are yet to receive it, and vexed like hell they ain't get nothing. That is the green mentality who just happen to vote yellow. You see where they does end up when they finish? When they really vex that they ain't get nothing, you see where they does end up? They go home. They go where they belong. Overall projection is a manipulative tactic, folks, designed to protect the faulty image of key operatives of the National Nasty Party, confuse constituents, and undermine the credibility of their opponents. You see, there are several reasons why decent, upstanding citizens might be attracted to leadership within a corrupt political organization, despite the apparent conflict between their personal values and the organization's practices. These factors often involve a complex mix of personal beliefs that shine through in their choice to get hitched with any such corrupt organizations, either with the belief that they can change the organization's culture or subculture, or that they can really fit into the nature of the corrupt organization, circumstances which may include the envy and jealousy they feel for someone who made it ahead of them and never showed any interest before, to compare with all the grandstanding that they may have made about their love for politics and societal dynamics in the mix, where the society's rejection of a current leader and his decrepit style provides an opportunity for a new virtual unknown to present himself or herself. You see, whatever the reason, here are a few possible factors. Some well-meaning individuals believe they can reform the corrupt political organization by joining it. They may see their involvement as a chance to bring positive change from within, thinking they can influence policies and steer the party in a more ethical direction. In our case locally, is that ever going to be possible with the bullish, strong-willed, inferior leader whose efforts to choreograph karma never stops, for fear that he gives life to the saying ascribed to him years ago, what goes around comes around? In fact, there are countless examples of people who went into that organization and ended up maimed for life, with all sorts of mud being justifiably slung at them, diminishing them completely. Call name folks are going to whistle. You see, despite the corruption, the organization may promote policies or ideologies that align with these individuals' core beliefs, such as economic policies, national security, or social issues, none of which is applicable to our local scenario when it comes to the National Nasty Party, because they have no policies, no issues on national security, and social issues, no, just the dunsification of the country, to put everybody, as many as possible, on the vote farm to keep them perpetually in office so they can repeat the cycle of being in office and making themselves rich while they leave a large swath of the population totally poor and vulnerable, and they say they love them. You see, they supposed and wished for alignment on the issues may be projected to outweigh concerns about corruption for some, who may see the bigger picture or believe the ends justify the means. In many political systems, the corrupt organization might be the most dominant or powerful force, offering easier opportunities for career advancement or even political influence. And when I say easier, I mean easier, as it is our local experience. All you needed is loyalty to Motombo, and you are in. You don't need any other qualification. Individuals may join because they see its lack of focus and structure and order as the most viable way to get in, climb the ladder and have an impact and hold leadership roles, even if they don't fully endorse the party's unethical behaviors. You call that opportunism of the worst kind, a la Motombo. Motombo loves that. In environments where corruption is widespread or deeply entrenched, it may become normalized. You see, decent people may rationalize that all political organizations are corrupt to some degree, and therefore joining one is simply the price of participating in politics. They might believe their participation can mitigate the worst aspects of the system, or that they can still do good within a flawed structure. Such people are regarded corrupt to the core notwithstanding their grandiose appearance of being upright and forthcoming. They choose their rhetoric well to give them an introduction to enticing people to listen, not realizing that their craftiness to be immersed in projection. Good? Just like the subculture of the nasty organization, they have become integral to. You see, strong networks of family, friends, or even professional contacts within the corrupt organization can create social pressure to join. In some cases, these networks provide political support, influence, and resources that are hard to access outside of the organization structure. Additionally, being part of a political group which markets itself as having a bottomless war chest of finances that can add to its influence, protection, and security is an attraction. You see, only to get in and discover that the corrupt leader guards his or her ill-gotten gains with all his or her life and nothing for them. You see, over time, decent individuals might begin to rationalize or overlook the corrupt behaviors of the organization. Cognitive dissonance, which is the mental discomfort one feels when his or her behavior does not align with their values, might lead them to downplay the corruption, to maintain their sense of integrity while remaining aligned with the organization's goals or their own personal ambitions. This is when you know a thirst or hunger for power causes the erosion of one's own character. But for your character to be so easily eroded, it means you really didn't have one in the first place. You see, in some political systems, there might be limited viable alternatives to the corrupt organization, either due to the weakness of opposition parties or the monopolization of power by the corrupt organization. Individuals may feel that they have no other choice but to engage with the dominant political force to make any kind of meaningful impact. And that is sad indeed, especially as they may not have done enough research on the devil of a leader they intend to follow or be conscripted by. Individuals may perceive the corrupt organization as a lesser evil compared to the alternatives. If they believe the other party is impossible to get into, worse on the key issues, or is perceived as incompetent, they may support the corrupt organization as the better option, even if it involves major personal moral compromise. Isn't that sad though? What is interesting here is that if the society is already compromised, where the majority are not interested in values like morals, integrity, honesty, and just plain goodness, joining a debased political organization will not matter to them. Such individuals are never known to stand up well to the scorn of their thinking peers, whose disdain and disappointment they are only too familiar with. You see, pragmatic individuals may prioritize what they view as practical outcomes over idealism. They may feel that despite its flaws, the organization has the power to achieve objectives, thus believing, that they're important and that ideals of integrity are sometimes sacrificed for the greater good. Corrupt political organizations often have charismatic or influential leaders who can inspire loyalty and trust. These leaders are usually crafty, and they use scraps and crumbs constantly to attract the full-time engagement of their target audience, the unthinking. Such leaders, while in office, never concentrate on educating their followers for fear that they see through them and fall off their wagon. They proceed to feed them lies and bend the system to convince them that they care so much about them that their subjects start believing them. All the while they remain stagnant as a people, with no chance of personal development or growth possible. These leaders may appeal to personal loyalties inspire belief in a shared vision, or manipulate followers into ignoring or minimizing the corruption present in the organization's leadership. In some cases, individuals may fear being politically marginalized or excluded if they remain outside the dominant party. So by joining, they may feel they are protecting themselves from political or social isolation, particularly in regions where the corrupt organization holds control over a significant swath of the population. So while these factors help explain why decent citizens may become involved in corrupt political leadership, such involvement can lead to personal and ethical dilemmas, as individuals may struggle to reconcile their values with the realities of a corrupt system. Such individuals are torn to the point where, with their inner circle of friends, they agree that cognitive dissonance had captured them in the most battling of ways. When one knows what this truly means, one can understand the rate of internal conflict this individual undergoes. Close friends know how he or she really feels and discuss the hypocrisy of such individual with their other friends to the point where respect is being lost for him or her. If we really understand cognitive dissonance, we will appreciate the level of conflict and psychological discomfort or tension that arises when an individual holds two or more contradictory beliefs, values, or even attitudes, or when their behavior conflicts with their beliefs. You see, the theory developed by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1957 suggests that people are motivated to reduce this discomfort by either changing their beliefs, justifying their behavior, or downplaying the inconsistency. For example, if someone values health but smokes cigarettes, they may experience cognitive dissonance because their behavior, smoking, contradicts their belief that smoking is harmful to health. To resolve this tension, they might quit smoking, convince themselves that smoking isn't that bad after all, or avoid thinking about the risks altogether. Cognitive dissonance plays a key role in decision-making, attitude change, and justification of action. Folks, all the more why we have to let our motto be resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders. When we come back, we have our final segment. Whew, today was a bit of a stretch in terms of, anyhow, let me just leave that alone because some things can be really vexing indeed.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with fortune and fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 up. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Going higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up
all together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wunderbar, wunderbar, as the Germans would say, folks. Well. We really and truly should follow up, because I think a lot of us are getting not scared, because I am not scared. My standard of living and quality of life is great, and there would be no compromise on that. I will continue to be who I am. I am consistent, and I do what I need to do. But I tell you something, sounding the alarm. If you hear this table turn and things change come 2027 or even before, if at all, don't beg me. I am all helping to publicize when the bank selling among you out. I'm making it breaking news, because among you too goddamn dotish. Some of you depending on the salary right now, and you're not even realizing the relationship. Hello? Study among your head. But I told you I have a list, and I intend to call among you out one by one. Publicly shame among you, because you're all forming the arse, A-R-S-E. Welcome back, folks. Becoming involved with a corrupt political organization can compromise an individual's standing and values in several significant ways. While people may rationalize their involvement through various justifications, the longer they stay involved with corrupt political associates, the more their personal integrity and public image can be eroded. Here's how this compromise typically plays out. Over time, aligning with corrupt political associates and practices can cause a gradual erosion of one's personal moral standards. Even if individuals enter with good intentions, the normalization of unethical behavior within the organization can lead them to compromise on smaller issues, eventually leading to acceptance of larger unethical actions. They may justify their actions as necessary for the greater good, but this often weakens their sense of integrity. When individuals' actions conflict with their internal values, they experience cognitive dissonance, that psychological discomfort from holding contradictory beliefs. To resolve this, they may either distance themselves from their values or change their perception of the corrupt behavior to reduce the internal conflict. This dissonance can lead to a gradual shift in their ethics, making it easier to justify further compromises and thus become absorbed by their newly found corrupt associates. You see, even if the individual tries to maintain personal integrity within the corrupt organization, their public association with it can damage their reputation. And because of the consistency of a flawed character in the first place, both their reputation and character become indistinguishable. Others may view them as complicit in or benefiting from the corruption, regardless of their intentions. In the public's eye, credibility and trust are often based on perception, and aligning with corruption can lead to a loss of standing within their community, professional circles, or even amongst constituents. By operating within a corrupt system, individuals often face situations where they must choose between loyalty to the party or organization and adherence to their personal values. These situations can force them to prioritize political survival over ethical behavior, leading to decisions that contradict their principles. In the long term, repeatedly compromising on small values can undermine the very foundations of their personal moral framework. People who value integrity may experience deep internal conflict and guilt as they realize they are participating in or benefiting from a system that goes against their principles or even their upbringing, because we have had people who joined this national nasty party, and after the demise of the government that they offered on 23rd June 2022. They just disappeared because they're trying to use silence and disappearing to repair themselves, because people see them as compromised. People see them as nasty and dirty as the organization they came from, because they were immersed in filth. You see, this emotional strain can lead to dissatisfaction, burnout, or a sense of betrayal towards them, especially if they enter the political fold with a hope of bringing positive change to the forces all around them. Work against that becoming a reality. You see, they don't understand the strength of the nastiness and the vibes of that old nastiness. You cannot fight against that and win. So when you come out there, you have to look nasty because you were part of a nasty group. Among peers, family, and associates who know the individual's character and values, joining a corrupt political organization can lead to disappointment or even alienation, as has started to happen to people among us who fit this picture. Friends and allies who share strong ethical standards may distance themselves, feeling that the individual has abandoned their principles because of jealousy of another who succeeded ahead of them. And for the sake of power, status, and personal gain, they become blinkered. In fact, you can hear them in their private little enclave talking about, I brighter than he. Oh, what make he bright? What make he bright? Well, who determines who brighter than who? Whatever you're involved in, as long as you keep succeeding, that is your bright. That is your bright. Juxtapose that culture of success with your culture of tomfoolery and see who brighter than who. You see, this can create social and relational consequences that are difficult to reverse. You see, once involved, individuals can find themselves more deeply embedded in the corrupt system than they intended. Without realizing it, they become reliant on the likely benefits that can come with their political position, power, influence, financial gain, which makes it harder to leave. You see, the deeper they go, the more they risk becoming an active participant in unethical practices, further compromising their own values. Folks, by joining and not taking a strong stand against corruption, individuals indirectly help perpetuate the corrupt system, making it harder for future reforms to take place. Their participation signals that the system is acceptable, even to the decent, upstanding citizens, which may embolden further unethical behavior within the organization and discourage broader accountability or reform. While some join with the hope of changing the organization from within, the power dynamics and entrenched corruption often make meaningful reform practically impossible with the father of corruption still around. In many cases, their efforts to remain ethical may be drowned out by the broader system's practices, leading to frustration and disillusionment. You see, the risk is that instead of reforming the organization, the individual becomes part of the status quo and descends into the abyss of nothingness like all the others. You see, in the long term, their legacy will become tainted by their involvement in the corrupt system. Even if they exit later, their participation can overshadow any good that they tried to do, especially if they were perceived as complicit in the organization's unethical actions. This can affect their future career prospects, social standing, and the way they are remembered. Our local experience here in Grenada is replete with such. You see, while some individuals may enter with good intentions or feel they have no choice. Involvement in a corrupt political system ultimately compromises their integrity, values, and standing. Even if they try to balance ethical behavior with political engagement, the longer they stay, the greater the risk that they will be seen as part of the problem rather than integral to any possibility of solution. You see, in closing here today, I want to applaud the analysts, analysts rather plural, like Hamlet Mark. Hamlet Mark, in my opinion, is the best local journalist blessed with professional penmanship, who is second to none for his musings, which we do not see enough of around here. Now, him and his politics, him and whichever client he works for, hey, that's another story. But as it relates to penmanship, I am yet to find someone in Grenada who could beat him. Good. Granted, I do not necessarily agree with every single thing he produces and releases. But what I can say is that they are well produced and their poetic prose usually catch my hard-to-get attention. Folks, I am not familiar with the writings of Royal Titus because he has been mostly a verbal commentator than a writer, in my view. I think I'd heard him do a bit of sports at one point in time. And other, sort of, how you call those things, general issues, general topics, discussions, and that sort of thing. But his recent piece titled Political Tensions Rise in Grenada as Opposition Regroups got my attention too. Well written. This is the kind of provocative commentaries that we need to be seeing to lift our political discourses from the bloody gutter. The article was well written and balanced in its delivery to qualify its headline. As I said, political tensions rise in Grenada as opposition regroups. The only thing I must say that I offer as a little correction to Mr. Titus is how he referred to me. I am a prominent opposer of the NNP, the National Nasty Party, headed by that old nastiness. But I'm a lifelong Garyite with sense. I am a lifelong Garyite with sense who knows never to support the National Nasty Party, especially under its massively inferior and corrupt leadership. Oh, that everyone knows, I am a personal friend of Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. And not because he's Prime Minister, I'm a personal friend. I have been a long-standing personal friend of Deacon Mitchell. And my support for him is based on my knowledge of his integrity as a human being and his capacity as a professional to deliver. My disdain for the NNP, the National Nasty Party, and my admiration and high regard for Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell work well as prominent benefits to the NDC. So you get my correction? The NDC as a political organization has to do a lot more than it has demonstrated it has and can to win my loyal following that I have for its current leader, Deacon Mitchell. There are elements within the party who are so qualified at 15-0 that they feel they should be listened to. And as a result, you know what goes on. They're always on the wrong side of issues in the party going forward. Dumbbells. So, Mr. Titus, I trust you will take this into consideration in any of your future writings. I am totally independent and I've demonstrated my chronic allergy to corruption, bubble, inferiorization, dunsification, manipulation, and diabolical dispensation of the old nastiness and crew under the guise of the National Nasty Party, the NNP. So, I am prominent in my independence, which the incumbent NDC administration will always benefit from. Thank you once again for your wonderfully written piece there. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. All the more why, folks, we have to let our motto be resistance to corrupt, diabolical, and evil leaders. Before I tell you that I am in and I'm out and I'm gone, let me sound the alarm to those loafers. Whether you are at the government level and you like to travel and you like to come and give people word salad and talk a lot of crap when you have a time to talk, but you're not engaging with your constituents, you're missing in action, you're not being seen, people calling you unjustifiably to get onto the seed program and you don't know how to get your colleague in the cabinet to put these people on the seed program and you're playing, you're stupid. I intend to take it to you. You remember the song? Take it to them. I intend to take it to them. All of you. Because among you just forming the Royal ARSE. Thanks for joining today, folks. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time and same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, stay lifted. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. No fake nothing. Just Edward or Eddie Frederick. No fake profiles. You see, a man who can stand courage of his conviction. You don't have to hide behind no fake nothing to say what he has to say. Who deserve licks, cut-ass sharing. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. No water in no mouth here to talk. All the best to you. Have a great one. And I hope all you loafers straighten up and fly right, because I ain't making no joke with none of you.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy. For too long now, our generally perceived poorly educated electorate have fallen victim to the cheap and inferior propaganda of those seeking to hold others captive under the guise of democracy. Gladly, the CDGG uses edification to help to actively pursue a sustainable approach to reorient our people towards the importance of electing and selecting people of good character to public life. Through edification, we will highlight the importance of education appropriate to our development, proper healthcare and facilities as our right, respect for law and order, not to mention upgrading our people's thinking so they could become qualified participants in the democratic process to their advantage. After all, Grenada's national constitution makes allowances for the ideal of free men to enjoy freedom from fear and want, which can be best achieved if conditions are created whereby everyone may enjoy his economic, social and political, civil and cultural rights.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safely and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. Hiring the right people with the right attitude and mindset is where to start. Even if you did not get it right through your current hiring methods, we can help develop the right mindset for your current employees. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island. Best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters. Friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for.